Hello, everyone. Welcome to Liberty Bytes on the Think Liberty Network. This is Matt McGowan sitting in for William Gadsden. With this episode set to air on Memorial Day, it seemed like a good time to discuss the topic of libertarians and military service. Now, from a libertarian perspective, there are obviously a lot of very strong arguments to be made against military service. Many libertarians see service as an endorsement of the state and the actions in which the state carries out. However, there's also a case to be made that military service actually provides a springboard into libertarian philosophy, something I happen to believe is true. Now, while I know I can't speak for everyone who's served, it's my hope that maybe sharing my own journey through military service and how it led me to libertarianism can help folks understand just what an opportunity there is for the liberty movement by engaging with this community. Like many libertarians, my disdain for authoritarians existed long before I knew what political philosophy even was. And as a result, I never really considered the military as an option for me after high school. However, being lower middle class Midwesterners, I nor my parents could afford to pay for college, and I had neither the grades to obtain a scholarship nor the skills to find employment at any higher than minimum wage. So knowing that if nothing else, I could at least acquire useful skills and maybe wrangle a little college money along the way, I took the plunge and enlisted the day after I graduated high school. Now, while the popular view in certain circles of the Libertarian Party is to picture a bunch of mindless automatons blindly following orders, trying to enslave the world, the reality of what I discovered was an ethnically and religiously diverse group of men and women who really weren't too different from me. Most came from the lower rungs on the economic ladder and were looking for an opportunity to better their lives. No one I met at any point in my military career had joined for the express purpose of killing anyone, and while most people believed in the mission, none believed anyone anywhere in the world was less entitled to liberty or freedom than we were because we were Americans. Of course, there were exceptions, but no more or less than you'd likely find in any other walk of life. Now, I often tell people that the time I spent in the military was the most educational period in my life. Not only did I obtain skills I wouldn't have had the opportunity to acquire elsewhere, I learned a lot about the world itself that I couldn't have got in a classroom. Being stationed in Europe taught me that the rest of the world didn't necessarily view my country the way I'd been taught it did growing up, and over time I was able to learn and understand why that was. In addition to learning about the true cost of American foreign policy, the tremendous amount of waste I witnessed on a nearly daily basis helped plant me firmly on the path towards libertarianism. That being said, not every lesson was a negative. The military is the single greatest melting pot of people you can ever imagine. I served alongside blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, atheists, agnostics, men, women, straight, gay, conservatives, liberals, Republicans, Democrats, you name it. And despite all these surface differences, each of us was able to look past them and work together for something larger than ourselves, an experience many of us, particularly in the liberty movement, could use today. When I think back on it, the truth is that the years that I spent in the military are as responsible for bringing me to where I am philosophically today as anything else in my life. They informed my opinions better than any textbook, professor, or yes, even Facebook debate ever could, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. Now, while many libertarians can make a strong philosophical argument on why the military shouldn't exist, I have to admit I find it a little bit ironic that libertarians who know that banning guns will not stop crime somehow think that the complete absence of a military will somehow make the world safer. In the world as it stands now, not where we want it to be, but where it stands right now, that's just not the case. And if we ever want that to be the case, we really need to focus on changing the disastrous foreign policy of our country rather than focusing on disarming it. And if you actually listen to most veterans, you'll find that many of them actually agree with the libertarian viewpoint on military adventurism and can articulate the reasons average Americans should be on board with that philosophy better than anyone. That's because they've lived it, they've witnessed it, they've seen the cost firsthand. Now, as I mentioned before, there are plenty of legitimate reasons for us to advocate against military service. But there are zero reasons for us to advocate against those who served finding a home in the liberty movement. Most veterans are natural allies of the liberty movement as a result of their experience, and many of the Libertarian Party's best activists have that in their background. Many of them are libertarians at heart without even knowing it, and we do our movement more service by educating them and trying to help them find that out than we do by running them off. Look, I'm not suggesting anyone run around kissing vets' asses or thanking them for their service. To be perfectly honest, I don't feel comfortable when people thank me for my service, and most veterans I know don't. In fact, I'd venture if you ask most veterans, they feel the same way you do about the culture of military hero worship currently infesting our country. Point being, there's no reason to look at them as adversaries. They are natural allies. Allies who know it's our foreign policy that is making the world less safe. So let's work on fixing that without running off the troops we require to complete the mission. This is Matt McGowan for Liberty Bytes on the Think Liberty Network. Thanks for listening.